Hei mok var det sång i lei, vakna dikko edelige drenge, de høyre nykkjen på havet skred, for de hev sovet i for lenge.
Hey everybody, it's me. It's your good buddy Thorn. And today we're going to talk about, well, a few things. But really what I want to talk to you about is being an NPC. Okay? Let's get started. Alright, hey, we're back. Alright, so I want to take a little bit of time and talk to you about something that's fundamentally needed in our LARPs, but a lot of games struggle to have it, and that is good quality NPCs. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, I want to go play a game, and I want to be this character that I've developed, and I want to run that character. And that's perfectly fine. I mean, most of us, that's what we really want to do. However, in order to do that, we need to have that supporting cast in our play, if you will, in order to make those things come true. And that's what an NPC, or non-player character, is. And the term really comes back from the old D&D games where you had your player characters out on an adventure. And the games master, the DM, dungeon master, built that world full of people that were not the players, they're non-players. But they were still characters, and the best ones had a little bit of development. And they interacted with your player character and assisted in the storyline. Now, in most of the LARPs that we have out there today, and Joris and I have been to quite a few over the last year or so, having good, decent NPCs is always a problem, because most of the people want to come and play their character. Now, I touched upon Empire LARP in England that has player characters play one day, and then they're the NPCs the next day. And that is kind of a workable solution, as long as everybody understands you're coming to play your character for a day, and then helping everybody else play their character for another day. Now that's just for the battles. There's a lot of player versus player in Empire LARP during the day, non-battle wise. You're down in the village talking back and forth. The village is populated with player characters, just like it would be in real life, so to speak. Okay. Where most LARPs struggle with is fielding those, I don't know what we want to call them, town NPCs, to create that realistic town environment. They might have one or two people, and they might have somebody running a tavern if you have a tavern. But for the most part, NPCs are used for engagements and fighting. Okay? And that's perfectly fine. We need to have that. But there's a lot more that you could have your NPCs doing. They should be running the town. They should be the people that they interact with, that the player characters act with. And they should be established, reoccurring NPCs. The tavern keeper, for example, should be an established NPC. And he's going to have his own kind of quasi-backstory to explain why this character is what they are doing and why they're doing it. The tavern keeper could be an older adventurer who's taken an arrow to the knee, so to speak, and is no longer an active adventurer. But there's all kinds of different ways that you could go with that. It could be, people that work in the tavern. And I know I'm very tavern-centric, but all good adventures start in a tavern. Other people in the town, the weaponsmiths, should be an NPC, and it should be a recurring NPC that the players become familiar with over time. So he does have that, and I use the term he, that reoccurring NPC has a backstory that plays into the game. Now, let me go back and talk about your NPCs. They shouldn't just... You shouldn't come into the NPC cabin and say, I need 5 people to be goblins. Put on green makeup and go. And that's what happens a lot of times. You as a game master need to put a little bit more detail work into it. And we will talk about how to do that. But let's say you have 5 people dressing up as goblins and go. What is the, you use the theater term, what is their motivation? What are they trying to do? In general, what is your game's history for that particular race? In this particular, goblins, orcs, animal-ish creatures, what have you. What motivates the orcs in your storyline? What are the orcs like in your storyline? Ours, in LARP on the Borderlands, orcs are pretty smart. They're not stupid creatures by any standard, but they are different than humans. They have a different philosophy. And the same with the goblins, or have a different world look, world life set, so to speak. They go about things differently based upon their own beliefs and social norms. Now, it's not detailed down to every degree. However, our goblins operate on a specific set of standards, and our NPCs are coached on that. Let's say it's goblin school, to take a phrase from movies. Just like in Lord of the Rings, the movies, the actors, the supporting actors, and the extras, because that's what your NPCs kind of are, your extras were taught how to act like an orc, or taught how to act like a goblin. Okay? Their best portrayal of a goblin, an NPC's best portrayal of a goblin, has a little bit of backstory to it, okay? They're not just going to go out there, well, I'm goblin number 7. No. So, hi Hobbs. So goblins, at least in our game, are run by a specific set of standards. They have kind of a little bit of backstory. It really doesn't have to be very deep to give that NPC a vested interest in that character. And in fact, they could develop over time into kind of a recurring non-player character. Let me give you an example. Now, the goblin character that I play a lot of is just a generic NPC. He's kind of a lower level goblin. And when coming to think of his name and all that, I kind of went with a humorous approach to it. When and if the player characters do ask my name, he's going to say, some call me Tim, which is a very Monty Python-esque reference. But the background to that, and it's funny and people will laugh, but the background to that is, it's Tim the Goblin, although that's not his last name, and he'll tell you that that's not my last name. It's Snotranger. Okay? Tim Snotranger. But that's as close as a human can pronounce his real goblin name, which God knows what it really is, but that's as close as humans can get. And that's kind of the joke. Humans disregard the goblins to such an extent they can't even pronounce their name. Okay? So that gives a little bit of background story to the goblin. He's got a family. He's got brothers and sisters. He might have cousins that were killed by adventurers. His cousins might have been killed by these adventurers. We don't know. That's kind of the ongoing story development of this character, or this non-player character. Now, let's say you've got your goblins, you say you've got your 5 little NPCs, and you send them out. And they come across a group of 10 adventurers. Are these 5 goblins going to stand there and get slaughtered? No, they're going to take off and run. And maybe the player characters will hunt them down. But the life philosophy of these goblins are, if we're not outnumbering the bad guys, maybe 3 or 4 to 1, we're not going to attack. It's just stupid. Orcs, on the other hand, orcs are a little more aggressive. They're a little more alpha dominant, if you will. 3 or 4 orcs might come across 5 or 6 adventurers, and it's game on. But they're stronger. They're bigger. They look for a fight. It's part of their philosophy. It's part of their religion, if you will. Not to back down and to instigate a fight. So giving your NPCs that little bit of information is going to affect how they act in any kind of encounter, and that's great. Because what you're doing is giving the NPCs a little bit of gameplay that they can take it in and make it their own. And make it so they're just not going out and getting beat up by the player characters. They're part of the story. So Tim the Hobgoblin might come back in later games, or even in this game might come back later in the day, or maybe his brother Anthony, who found a dying Tim, and Tim's last breath was, those players, or the one that killed me looked like this, revenge me. Okay. Now you're giving the NPCs a little bit of story that they can play with and make it their own. All right? Because nobody wants to just go out there and be somebody that's all they do is get beat up. That's not what an NPC wants to do. That's not what people want to do. Too often our NPCs are just the people who are poor, who can't play, who can't afford to actually pay for the game. And, hi Hobbs. So they have no vested interest in being these non-player characters. If you, as a game master and plot, give them a reason to be those characters and to maybe do a little bit of development, well, it's going to be a better game. And if it's a better game for them as an NPC, you're going to start having people going, you NPCs are having a lot of fun. I think I want to try that. And they might try a game or two as an NPC. And that allows maybe some of these reoccurring non-player characters, some of these town folk that your NPCs are playing on a regular basis, it might give those NPCs the ability to develop those non-player characters into a player character in the future. For example, let's say that I'm your humble new LARP player, and he wants really bad, I really want to play LARP, but I don't know anything about it, I don't have any stuff. I'm going to college, I really don't have the money to pay for cabin fees and game fees, etc., etc. It depends on your game, of course. And so you talk to them and you say, wait, why don't you do an NPC for us? Now, go ahead and figure out a town character that you want to do, and you walk them through it. Let's say, we need to have somebody that runs the local general store, all right? So player characters can come to you and buy items or sell items or what have you. That's great. Over time, that non-player character, that person, is developing the story behind that NPC. And let's say he NPCs with us for 7 or 8 months. A lot of places will give you build points if you NPC. Okay, so all this time, this six months, let's say, he's developing this non-player character store clerk, for lack of a better term. Well, now he's learned how to fight. He's learned the rules of the game. This is the player. He's developed personal relationships with some of the player characters as an NPC. And now he says, I kind of want to go out and adventure this time. All right, why don't you take your NPC out? Why don't you take Steve the tavern keep, or Bob the store clerk, and he can go approach some of these player characters and say, hey, I've been kind of practicing on the side, and I've got enough money, and I bought some stuff. And is it okay if I come out with you this time? And player characters should say, if they're smart, yeah, why don't you come out with us? Now that NPC has taken his first step. That person has taken his first step into being a PC. And you still haven't lost the NPC. That reoccurring non-player character. It can be filled by somebody else. Or, let's say Steve becomes a full-time PC. That opens it up for some other non-player character to step into that role and have bought the store or got hired to be the barkeep or any of a number of things. And you build your town and it keeps refreshing itself. And let's say an established high-level player character says, you know what, I'm getting tired of playing this character, I need to do something else. All right, well, why don't you go on sabbatical? Why doesn't your player character go on sabbatical? Take a trip to the Bahamas or whatever. And the next game, come in NPC with us, and you can be some guy that bought the livery stable or the armor shop or 100 different things. Or if you just want to fight, why don't you just work with some of our new NPCs that don't have a lot of experience and train them up to be better orcs, better goblins, better fighters. That would really help out a lot of games, wouldn't it? Okay. So, trying to make your game fun for non-player characters and give a reason to people to want to be a non-player character is only going to build the game better. Okay? So, we'll refresh over what I talked about. In order to make a better game, you have to have NPCs. In order to have good NPCs, you have to make it worthwhile for them to even do it. A lot of games will give you points or build or whatever to do NPC. Okay, fine. Giving those people who play your NPCs a vested interest in their NPC characters, even if something throwaway as Tim the Goblin, for gosh sakes, will make a better game because now they want to see Tim succeed. And he's going to die a horrible death at the hands of the PCs. That's what an NPC is there for. But what if his buddies paid enough for the necromancer to bring Tim back and now he's out for revenge? All right. That's bringing something else into the game. And that's really cool. Okay? So, NPCs. Think about a couple different ways to do it. Okay, hey, we're back. I got a few things I want to show you and talk to you about. Now, we talked about the orc mask the other day, and it's here somewhere. But I want to show you this other one because we're developing the orc NPC with the mask, and now we're going to take a look at developing the goblin NPC with the mask. Hobbs, what are you doing, baby? Hobbs is here giving us directorial comments. What? I should smile more? No, she said don't do that. Okay, so we're taking a look at this Epic Armory mask system in order to develop the character. Hi, Hobbs. So, just like in the orc mask that I showed you, their goblin mask, and this is under the skull to give it a little bit of shape. The goblin mask is an excellent way to quickly do an NPC and make them look very, very nice. Okay. Now, I'm going to put this on, and I'm going to move forward into the camera so you can see me a little bit better. All right? So, let me do that. Excuse me, babe. All right, so now I have the mask on, and it is a little tighter than the other one. It's got a little padding up here in the eyebrow. I'm going to shift forward for you. So, as you can see, there's a little bit of green around the eyes, and I have to trim this up a little bit, and around the mouth, which we need to kind of camouflage in order to make me look more like a goblin. But with the hood up, now you're starting to see the possibilities. Okay. And this is going to be kind of the goblin look that I'm going to go for. All right. To get it set right. Now I can breathe pretty good through this, but it's not perfect. So, probably going to breathe. So I'm probably going to breathe through the mouth more to give me a better look and sound, if you will. All right. Now let me show you one more thing that I got. All right. Now see, I got my fangs in, and these are a dental implant. What they affect my speech. So, as a goblin is not going to speak English very well, talkity tia, so you're going to speak steak, the hardasha. You're going to speak a little different with this in mouth, and this is beaded into my mouth, which I got to do a little trimming to make it fit right. But this affects the way that I talk. And so your character, you see, your character of Tim the Hobgoblin is going to be, you won't have his feet impediment. Or it's just the it just could be the goblin language is different. All right? So, let me do a little bit of face paint, and we'll see what this looks like, okay? All right. So now, with a little bit of green makeup, the mask does its business, along with the teeth. So, now the goblin is about perfect. I hate the human tongue. It's not made for goblins. So, but this was literally about 5 minutes of makeup. And let me show you what it looks like. Now, let me show you the teeth real quick. Let me find it first, okay? But these are not very expensive. I actually got these on Amazon. I typed in orc teeth, and there they are. It's pretty neat. And it gives another dimension to the character. Now, let me take Tim's head off, shall I? So, as you can see, how little makeup that I actually had to do to make this character look pretty decent. And once I get these teeth trimmed right, they will sit pretty good. And they sit really well with the orc mask. This one, like I said, is a little smaller a little tighter, but it looks pretty decent. Okay, so now with very little effort, I made a pretty decent looking orc that would, goblin from 5 or 6 feet away, or in an engagement, would look pretty good. That was done with Epic Effects water-based makeup. This is just one color. These are great. You can find them on Dark Knight Armory. This is Epic Armory's makeup. What I like about this is water-based. Okay? And so, as an NPC, I can be the goblin, get done with that encounter, come back, wash my face in soap and water, and the makeup comes off. Quickly transition into a different character. And they come in plenty of colors. I picked up a few the other day because I know that I'm going to do orcs and goblins. Black, dark green, the light green that you see here. And so with that color palette, you can create that character that you need to be that NPC without much effort. Look at this. Not very much at all. But even if you did the whole face with a makeup sponge, it's not going to take very long. And it washes off with soap and water. It's very quick. So, a couple other things that I want to talk to you about real quick, and then we'll get this, start the editing process. Developing these characters, I was looking for a short, brutal sword. I was really kind of looking for kind of an orc-looking sword, and I really didn't find any that I like. And then Joris recommended something. He said, well, why don't, there's no reason why you can't use a normal sword. Goblins and orcs kill adventurers all the time. They could probably take those weapons. I said, yeah, you're right. This is a very good point. And in our game, LARP on the Borderlands, the goblins are in constant combat with the dwarves. So, I picked up Epic Armory's short, single-bladed, or single-sided dwarf sword. This is a short sword. This is about what I want to have as a goblin or orc. It's very close in fighting, but it's brutal. This is the cutting edge. And it's just freaking brutal. The handle is that hard resin, and it's gorgeous. It is really gorgeous. I can't say enough about them. This is full. This is foam, and I can feel the silicone on it. This is going to be my orc and goblin weapon of choice as a cleaver. It's freaking awesome. And the backstory is Tim, our good buddy Tim, the hobgoblin. That's not his name. Tim the goblin was on a raiding party, killed a bunch of dwarves, and this is the one thing that he got out of it. And this is beautiful. He loves it. He loves his sword. And I can't wait to crush and kill player characters with it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, in the next 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks from today, which is the second week in October, is the next Alliance LARP Denver game. Joris and I are planning on going down. We're planning on being goblins and orcs and everything else that they want. And this is going to cleave player characters. And we're going to talk to the other NPCs. And we're going to talk to the other plot runners and everything else. And see if we can get something really going there. They've got a great game. They really do. And I think we can bring something to the NPC game and train the NPCs up to be viable and effective NPCs, and therefore viable and effective player characters when they're ready to transition into that. So we're really looking forward to it. So, well, I'm going to wrap it up. I don't know how much footage I got. It's probably quite a bit. And we'll see you guys soon, okay? Oh, I promise the crossbow, the full video is coming out. We ran into a little bit of a snag. It's been raining here over the last 3 or 4 days that I've had to film. And so we weren't able to get outside and film yet, but we will soon, okay? I'm going to develop this goblin character a little bit more, and I think I'll focus on the goblin first, Tim, and develop some armor for him, because I got some fantastic stuff in the mail the other day, and I can't wait to put it together. He's going to have a little bit of armor for the goblin. We're talking about maybe doing some talbards, and so I'm going to make some real quick talbards and show you how to do that. Not stupid looking talbards that so many games use, I'm sorry, but more along the line of that Inquisitor talbard, kind of a long flowing talbard, but for our goblins. Okay? Alright, so let's wrap this up, and I will see you soon.